today we're going to be looking at The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Now we're going to be looking at the novel, not the TV series, although I really do love the TV series, but it's important not to get the two mixed up because they do differ slightly. Let's explore a little bit of background on the story. We'll look at the Gilead regime. We'll do a quick rundown of the main characters that you need to know in relation to this passage. Then we'll analyse the passage from chapter 18. And if you head over to my Patreon, I'll give you some exam questions to practice. So firstly, let's explore the world of The Handmaid's Tale. So the USA has been taken over by Christian extremists. The world has also become extremely polluted by nuclear waste, which has made most men and women sterile or infertile. However, only women are blamed for the inability to have children. Now, Offred, or June, as we call her, she can still have children, so she is been given the role of handmaid in this Gilead regime. Now, the role of the handmaid is to produce children for high-ranking commanders that have infertile wives. But let's break down Gilead a little bit more. Gilead is a totalitarian and theocratic state. So what does that mean? So totalitarian basically means the public is completely subservient to the state. There is no individual freedom. A theocratic state is where the government is led by God or divine guides who are regarded as the ruling authority. Now, the interesting thing about Gilead's theocracy is that it uses religion to oppress women. It's also the reason why there are strict hierarchical labels, such as handmaids, martyrs, wives. Basically, women have lost control of their bank accounts, their families, their homes, and their bodies. Now, I was watching Margaret Atwood's masterclass, and she said a really interesting thing, that she never directly names June. She never directly has her protagonist say, "My name is June." But what she does do at the beginning of chapter 1 is when she's talking about the women at the Red Centre exchanging each other's names. And she lists their names and says, "In this way, we exchange names from bed to bed. Alma, Janine, Dolores, Moira, June." Now, the reader knows from reading the novel that there is no character that the protagonist talks to called June. So therefore, we can assume that June is her name. That's the name that's exchanged with the other girls in the Red Centre. So pretty clever that the readers picked up on that. I think Margaret Atwood even said that she didn't really intentionally do that, but I don't know. I feel like she's too smart. I feel like she would do something like that. Anyway, June/Offred, because Offred is the name she adopts when she moves in with the commander and his wife. So June is the protagonist who's living in Gilead as a handmaid. She once had a career, a husband, a daughter, but all that was taken away. When the Gilead took her over and her family tried to flee the country to the Canadian border, they were caught and they were separated. June is then taken to the Red Centre to be trained or conditioned and brainwashed to be a handmaid. Once the training is complete, she goes off to be a handmaid and live within various households. Luke is Offred's real husband pre-Gilead, so they met while he was leaving his first wife and they used to rendezvous in hotel rooms. I mean, Offred paints him as a really loving husband and father. June and Luke's daughter is never named. She's portrayed as a sweet girl, aged 8, who comes into the story through Offred's memories. We also have the commander, Fred Waterford. So he's a top military official and one of the founding fathers of Gilead. He rules over his wife, over the handmaid, and he treats Offred as this sort of precious possession. He's also a hypocrite because he only obeys the rules of Gilead when it suits him. Then we have the complex Serena Joy, who is the commander's wife. So she upholds traditional gender values, but she resents the handmaids and sees them as a threat to her marriage. So the narrative is a non-linear first-person account from our protagonist, Offred. Now, a linear storyline would be a story that begins at the beginning and ends at the end, but a non-linear storyline kind of weaves in and out and jumps between several different timelines. I really like this style of narrative because it encourages the reader to work a little bit harder to piece things together. It's quite exciting to do that. Now, there are several different timelines that June/Offred weaves between. So we have the present, living in the Gilead regime with the commander and his wife. Then we have the past, pre-Gilead, where we see her relationships with her mother, Luke, her husband, and their daughter. We also get to see Offred recounting her experiences in the Red Centre with the other girls and with Aunt Lydia. So time to look at the extract. Now, I've performed part of the extract as a monologue because I felt for me to best understand or empathize with Offred's point of view, I really wanted to get into her shoes. And basically the narrative is a first-person monologue, internal monologue throughout the whole thing. So what better opportunity to do that? Afterwards, when we come to analyze it, I'll take you through the first part in detail. But if you want access to the second part with all the literary devices, and if you want access to exam-style questions to practice, head to my Patreon. Lying in bed with Luke, his hand on my rounded belly, the three of us in bed, she kicking and turning over within me. Thunderstorm outside the window. That's why she's awake. They can hear, they can sleep, they can be startled even there. In the soothing of the heart, like waves on the shore around them. If I thought this would never happen again, I would die. But this is wrong. Nobody dies from lack of sex, it's lack of love we die from. There's nobody here I can love. All the people I could love are dead or elsewhere. Who knows where they are or what their names are now? They might as well be nowhere as I am for them. I too am a missing person. From time to time, I see their faces against the dark, flickering like the images of saints in old, foreign cathedrals in the light of the drafty candles. Candles you would light to pray by, kneeling, your forehead against the wooden railing, hoping for an answer. I can conjure them, but they are mirages only. They don't last. Can I be blamed for wanting a body to put my arms around? Without it too, I'm disembodied. I can listen to my heartbeat against the bed springs. I can stroke myself under the dry white sheets in the dark, but I too am dry and white, hard, granular. It's like running my hand over a plate full of dried rice. It's like snow. There's something dead about it. Something deserted. I am a room where things once happened, and now nothing does. Okay, so first we've got some soft consonants. Lying in bed with Luke, his hand on my rounded belly. So this is a memory that she's treasuring. Drinking in these memories from time to time is her lifeline. It's her way of surviving in this cruel, cruel world that she finds herself in. There's a protective quality about these soft consonants, almost as if she's cocooned herself within them. And there she is in the memory, pregnant, literally wrapped up in bed with her husband. It's a heartwarming image. And the baby too is cocooned inside her belly. Then we also have the physical touch of Luke's hand, which also feels protective and loving. Then we have foreshadowing with the thunder outside the window. Now, first, I thought this was pathetic fallacy, where the weather reflects the mood. In this case, it's not necessarily reflecting the mood, but it could foreshadow what is yet to come, aka the metaphorical storm ahead, the impending sort of rule of Gilead. Then we have symbolism, soothing of the heart. A heart is a symbol of love, passion, the life force. Atwood paints a picture of a family that literally emanates love. The tragedy is that Gilead, which is soon to be imposed, is arguably a loveless place. Therefore, this very loving scene elevates the importance of love. Something as simple as being in bed with your loved one. It's very ordinary, But against the context of the other chapters that take place in a world where true love, freedom to choose who you love, and all that is condemned. All of that is condemned. And women like Offred are just purely commodities to be used and discarded when they can no longer produce. So all of this knowledge enhances the importance of love throughout the novel. It's one of the biggest themes. Let's look at the simile. Like waves on the shore around them. So remember, a simile is a literary device that compares two things or one or more things using like or as. So like waves on the shore, so the sea represents so much, it's almost impossible to narrow it down. And to really break this sentence up, we have to start with the sea. So the sea is gendered as feminine. Much like women's menstrual cycles, the ocean tide changes according to the moon. So the sea is strong and powerful. It can destroy ships and entire cities. But when it's still, there's a calmness and serenity. If you're struggling to narrow something down, look at the rest of the sentences around them. In this case, it's about the baby being soothed. So I would go for the angle of the sea being calming. It's a calming maternal presence. It's strong and protective. So the waves and the shore is around them. Again, it's that cocooning feeling. So we have this feeling of safety, protectiveness with the image of the sea, but all of that is about to be torn away. So for the next point, I've put hyperbole/fact, because a hyperbole is an exaggerated metaphor. And here she's saying, if I thought this would never happen again, I would die. But, is this an exaggerated metaphor, or does she really mean it? Because there are cases in the novel where she does think and talk about killing herself. So I'll leave that up to you, as long as you can back it up with quotes, whichever way you choose to lean. Just back it up. Then look at the word this. What is the this that our protagonist is talking about? In the next sentence, she says, nobody can die from lack of sex. So we can assume that in this memory, Luke and June are making love while she's pregnant. Now, this would be completely condemned in Gilead. Pregnant women are treated like delicate commodities, and they most definitely would not have been allowed to have consensual sex for pleasure whilst pregnant. So Atwood is really highlighting the differences here. Then we have alliteration, lack of love. The repeated L sound is soft. But the harshness of the word lack emphasizes the reality of a situation. There's no real love in this house, apart from when later in the novel she kind of gets together with Nick. But right now, in this moment, there is no love in this house. Is she afraid that she'll die from lack of love? Most likely, because in her following sentences, she begins to panic about all her loved ones that are either dead or have disappeared. Then look at the rhetorical question that follows. Loss of identity is a big theme in this novel. And here there's something in the idea that the people closest to us make up our identity. They reflect ourselves back at us. However, in the commander's house, it's almost as if everyone is wearing a mask. Everybody's too scared to show who they really are for fear of crossing the line. And of course, think about how our protagonist has been renamed from June to Offred, taking the commander's name. Think about the clothes and the red dress and the white hood that she has to wear, all which signify her place in the regime. I don't know whether you noticed, but I did wear this top today in homage to the Handmaid's Tale television series. My partner likes to joke that I look like Mrs. Waterford, aka Serena Joy. She always wears these very kind of like hoity-toity polo necks, all in teal. She always looks really washed out and sad, very, very sad. And no one wants to live in that Gilead regime. Margaret Atwood did get criticised when she wrote the novel. Why are you writing a novel about women being oppressed in this way? No women are oppressed in this way anymore. And she answered something like, women are oppressed in this way. It's just that I took all the oppression from different parts of the world and put it in one place. And it's interesting to her novel. I think that's why it's so timely, because, with the Me Too movement, kind of like abortion rights being revoked and stuff like that, it's just so crucial to cite this. It's kind of like Animal Farm. It's a really important novel as well. So long live The Handmaid's Tale, and I hope you enjoyed this video.